Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 20th of July 2018. We're going to reflect on Matthew chapter 12, verses 1 to 8. At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and they began to pluck heads of grain and to eat. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath." He said to them, "Have you not read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and ate the bread of the presence, which it was not lawful for him or his companions to eat, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple break the Sabbath and yet are guiltless? I tell you, something greater than the temple is here. But if you had known what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." The Gospel of the Lord. Anyone who has gone through the Gospels would be aware of the constant conflict that Jesus had with the Pharisees. One of the main areas of contention was the observance of the Sabbath where no work was done. The Pharisees tried to follow this prescription with an obsession that would have put people with OCD to shame. We see this on display here in this story. Jesus' disciples were hungry and they began to pluck heads of grain and eat them. The Pharisees considered this work. Do recall from a previous reflection that they considered spitting on the ground work too, because the spittle might serve as fertilizer for the soil. Absurd, yes, I know. Jesus doesn't care either for their interpretation or their motivation, and he uses the story of how David ate temple bread that was legally forbidden to show precedence. What's that story? We find it in 1 Samuel 21. David and his men come to the city of Nob and meet the high priest there, a man named Ahimelech. David asks the priest for bread for himself and his hungry men, and the priest tells him that the only bread he has is the holy bread that was kept in the tabernacle. This bread was only for priests and it was unlawful for anybody else to eat it. But the priest let David have it. Was this right? We get an answer in Mark's version of this passage where Jesus declares, "The Sabbath was made for humankind and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." This means that the Sabbath was made to bless man and not the other way around. For instance, a starving man working for food on the Sabbath does not displease God even though he breaks the law. As an example that you might be able to relate to, consider the minimum speed limits that some countries have. This is to ensure that traffic flows smoothly and speedily on certain roads. However, if the chap in front of you has engine trouble and slows down, the authorities don't expect you to maintain the speed limit set even though it is the law. Here's the question for us. Are we too legalistic in how we live our faith? Let us reflect upon this today. God bless you.